from month to month.
Okay. Jim,
Yeah.
do you want that shade behind your head closed? Do you get glare off of that glass?
Doesn't seem to be, but why don't we do it just to be on the safe side?
Sometimes things like that happen if the sun peeks through.
Yeah.
And then you don't.
That's a good point.
Oh, a nice little setup in this office. I'm glad you were able to get it.
Yeah.
It's just a nice size office.
I know.
With all the windows.
I know. But I'm not jealous of anything in this building any longer.
Have you seen her office yet?
No, I'm going to come over though. I'm
As
coming.
soon as I get my couch, she
All
gets to
right.
come.
You get your couch?
Well, 3 weeks, 7 weeks, 2
Where
months.
are you putting it in your office?
No, tiny little waiting room couch, like that size. Okay, let's start, all right?
That's fine.
Keri, I like to first start off by saying that you and I are both very aware that this is a training tape to be used only for educational purposes at Loma University, mainly with psychiatric residents and perhaps with social work students and perhaps with medical students.
Okay.
What I was interested in us starting to focus on, a place for us to start, I thought, would be maybe if you could describe to us some early years in your life, your family, maybe what part of the country you grew up in, some things about your education.
Okay, I grew up in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and I came from a family of 4 kids, a boy and 3 girls, and I was the oldest. And I went to high school, I graduated from high school. And you want to know about what it was like growing up?
Sure.
My family wasn't really wealthy. My father was sick all the time, so he didn't work, so we were on the relatively poorer side. And my mom was one of those mothers that nag all the time. And my sisters and me, we fought all the time, and I didn't get along with any of them. I guess I always thought I was right and they were wrong. And I guess I hung out with like the badder crowd because they were easier to get along with. And I just got into a lot of trouble in high school.
Were you involved with drugs at all when you were in high school?
I've experimented with them in high school. The people I hung around with were into them. And I think I more or less experimented with them just so that they didn't think I wasn't like one of them. So I wasn't like addicted to them or
What kind of drugs did you experiment with?
I tried marijuana, I tried speed, I tried coke, I tried alcohol. I didn't do anything like, I never shot something into myself or anything like that. But I never like did it, like I never bought it or anything like that. It was just like if it was there and they were all doing it and they said, come on, try it. I had no power to say no, so I just was one of those ones that went and tried it.
In looking back at your childhood and your teenage years, how would you describe yourself? Happy, unhappy, something in between?
Something in between. I guess there was times when I was happy and then there were times that I was miserable. I guess it was when I got to high school, I was more miserable. When I was younger, I thought I was happy. My mom said I was hard to live with because I was moody, I guess. But I thought I was happy all the way till I probably hit about 9th or 10th grade, and then it seemed like I was miserable till I got to probably 11th grade, and then I guess I thought I was happy again after that.
You seemed sad when I asked you that question. You seemed to have some tears
Am I
in
allowed
your
to cry?
eyes. Absolutely. You seemed to have some tears in your eyes when you were talking. I'm just wondering what those tears might be saying.
I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like I just didn't like high school. It wasn't that I didn't like high school. I just didn't like the kind of person I became in high school. Like there were times when I liked it, but there were times that it just wasn't good for me to be there. So I didn't go to school then. If I didn't like what was going on, I found a bunch of my friends that weren't going nowhere in life and just would go to the mall or go downtown or.
So you might avoid some of the things that were disturbing you?
Yeah, Pittsburgh is such a big place that nobody notices if you're there or not. My school had like 7,000 kids in it, so it was too hard for them to keep track of every class if you were there or not. So usually you never even got caught. I don't think I ever got caught not going to school.
Did your family, did your parents have any sense of your happiness?
well, I guess sometimes they just did. When I asked them to switch schools, they thought it was just, I guess she didn't think it was really, I guess, a good enough reason to want to quit that school and go to another one. She said, oh no, you'll be just fine, you can go to school there. So they kept me in school, so I just didn't go as much. I think, or I found reasons to get out of school. I started working, so I got to leave school at like 10 o'clock in the morning, so I was only there for 3 hours, like for 11th and 12th grade. And half the time I didn't even go to those classes. Didn't like it. I did better in 12th grade. I guess like probably 10th and 11th grade were the worst. But I finished school. I did good. I graduated with like a 3.2 average, which I guess is pretty good.
Yes, it is.
I never took like the hard classes or anything like some of the people were taking like all those scholar classes and stuff. And I just took the easy ones. I took like math and science, just the basic stuff. It didn't require you to really have to do a lot of homework or anything like that. I guess I took the easy way out.
You stayed back east and moved to California
When I was 18.
with your family?
No. But they followed me. I became a diabetic when I was 18. And at the time I was dating 2 different people, and the one person wanted to go out to California on vacation. His brother lived in Palm Springs. And he said, why don't you come out with me? It'll do you good. So I said, okay, I'll go. And then my mom, she didn't like that idea, but the doctor thought it was good for me to go. So I went, and we really liked it. We had a good time. And we ended up just keep extending our stay. We'd call and say, oh no, we're not coming home yet. We're going to stay another couple days. And so we did that. And then when we were out here in California visiting, he said that he would like to live out here, and he'd gotten offered a job. He said, would you like to come too? And I thought that was great. I could get away from my parents, get away from Pittsburgh. I could just do what I wanted to do. So I went home, and my parents were on vacation, and they came back, and they were telling me how happy they were to see me. It was been like about 3 or 4 weeks I've just stayed out here. I said, well, you better look now because I'm moving to California. And my little sister, I'll never forget this, she was probably like 7 or 8. She says, we're moving to California too. And I said, what? She goes, Mom said they had this feeling you were going to be moving out there because you didn't want to come home. And if you were moving, we were moving too. And they did. They did just that. We packed up, and me and Pete moved to California, the Palm Desert, and 2 months later, here comes them with their U-Haul, and they decided to move too, but they ended up moving to Hemet because my father couldn't get transferred to Palm Desert. He could only get transferred to Hemet, so.
Were you bothered by the fact that your family had decided to move out here?
I was bothered because I thought that they didn't think that I could do things on my own.
Oh, I see.
That, I guess I thought, you know, here I am going across country, and they have to, like, treat me like I'm a little kid still and follow me on out there. But then when they moved to Hemet, it wasn't so bad because that was like an hour away. And if I didn't want to see them, I didn't have to see them. If I didn't want to call them, I didn't have to call them. But then we ended up moving to Hemet about 6 or 8 months later anyway. So, but it wasn't so bad then because we were living in our own place and they lived in their own place.
You were diagnosed as having diabetes when you were how old?
18.
I see. And were you immediately placed on insulin?
Immediately. I didn't even know I was a diabetic. I was just feeling good, and I thought I was just run down because I was working a lot of hours, and I was learning how to ice skate, so I thought my legs were just bothering me from learning how to ice skate, and I just thought I just had the flu, and the one Pete said to me, why don't we go down to the hospital and see what we could do for your legs? So we went down there, and the doctor said, well, let's run some tests, and he told me my blood sugar was almost 900, and that they didn't even know if I was going to go into a coma, so they hurried up and started putting insulin into me. But I guess they couldn't put it in real fast because I could go into seizures, so I stayed in the emergency room for like a day and a half while they were just sticking the insulin in me. I was in the hospital for almost a month.
And tell me, how old are you now, Keri?
26.
And so, in the years since you were first diagnosed and now, have you had difficulties with the diabetes?
No, yeah, I have. a lot of complications that go with them. I have peripheral neuropathy. I've had retinopathy in my eyes. I've had the kidney problems. I've had real, my insulin is really, I guess, changes a lot. I'm a real brittle diabetic. I go from being real high all the time to being real low, and it's hard to manage. Now I take 4 shots a day. When I only started, I was on 2 shots a day, and I get a lot of the side effects. Any one thing triggers them all to go off. So my legs start hurting, my kidneys will start going, my blood sugar will go crazy, and then I have to worry about my eyes going nuts if my blood sugar gets high. So it's just.
How often do you test yourself a day?
Probably not. Like, I'm supposed to test myself 4 times a day, and I probably only test myself maybe every so many days. I guess I can tell when it's low, and I can tell when it's high, and I guess I can even tell when it's pretty well regulated. So if there's a time when I'm like not sure what it is, then I'll check it. Or if it's been low for a lot, like a couple times, then I'll check it to make sure that it's not getting too high for me eating all the stuff to bring it up. But I'm pretty accurate with it though. Like I can tell, like I'll say, oh, I think it's probably in the 40s, and I'm pretty good. It usually comes back in the 40s.
You and I have known each other for a long time.
6 years. You got me when my blood sugar was going crazy. That's how I ended up coming to you. Dr. Brinegar said that, well, I guess I broke down in his office because I was saying how everything was happening, how my legs hurt, my kidneys were going, and he said, no, go see her. So that's 6 years ago.
And I and Dr. Winters became sort of the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw her probably up until a couple months before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So probably like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
She did the medications and we did the counseling.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first time you were hospitalized?
Mm-hmm.
On the psychiatric unit?
Yeah, I went in there and they gave me a roommate, and she was talking about killing herself and all these terrible things, and I'm thinking, it can't get that bad. I'm thinking, this girl, I thought she had a problem. I thought, she's really, like that. And then I realized that, gosh, I guess everybody gets like that. But I spent 2 weeks in there, and then I thought after a week that I was well enough to come out. I thought, no, I can get out, So it took 2 weeks, and they finally let me go. And the next day I was right back in there again. I'll never forget that. I got home, and it was just like, I panicked. I don't know what happened. I just started crying and everything.
Do you remember how old you were the first time you were hospitalized?
19. They put me on medications and went to the group counselings. And
can you recall the medications they originally started you on?
I started on the Zipramine, and that didn't work. That made me hallucinate. So then they said, well, try Desirel. Desirel made me really dizzy when I took it. Right after I took it, I remember I couldn't even move. I'd get up because the whole room would start spinning. I couldn't take that. Then I tried lithium, and that made me sick. And then they tried, is it Tegretol? Tegretol. That made me sick. I was on Wellbutrin. I was on Haldol. I've been on Prozac, Klonopin. I know I'm missing some. I've tried Elavil, but I like Klonopin the best.
How does Klonopin help you? Dr. Winters started you on Klonopin quite a while ago, if I remember.
Yeah, probably like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And how does the Klonopin seem to help you?
It doesn't make me groggy. Like some people say when they take it, they get real tired. And it doesn't make me tired, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm not with it. It makes me just feel relaxed enough that I can still do everything that I need to do, but it doesn't make me, like I'm not agitated. It just kind of relaxes you to the point where you can cope with, doing things like if somebody knocks something off the dresser and it breaks, I'm not going to jump up and start screaming at them and say, you just knocked us off the dresser, this and that, and start yelling at them, and because then that's what I was doing. I was screaming at people and for just a little, like you could shut the door hard, and I just start lashing out at you and calling you all these names, and I'd get real mean and say these terrible things to you, and all you did was shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed something just to kind of make me feel just a little bit more in control. I wasn't in control at all. I needed to be in control. But but the Klonopin, it's just done great like that.
How many times were you hospitalized?
Probably about 6.
6 psychiatric hospitalizations?
Mm-hmm.
And
About 6.
I believe that I was involved in each of those hospitalizations.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Dr. Winters also.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because you used to call over there and see if they had a bed available. I never went in, like, just through an emergency room, or I always knew I was going in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I always knew probably, well, except for, like, once, I always knew, like, the night before that I was going the next morning, except for once I went out of your office. And I think that was the day after they released me. I ended up right back in there.
Mm-hmm. And in general, each of those hospitalizations were caused by you feeling, is there some way that you could summarize some of the feelings that you would have, or the behaviors that you would have?
I'd start losing control. I'd start being mean to everybody, saying terrible things, and one time I threw macaroni all over. I threw it from the kitchen all over the living room into my husband. That was the only thing I could throw at him at the time. And I would just start throwing things and calling people terrible things and saying things that would just hurt them. And I'd start crying, and then I couldn't stop crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. And I wouldn't get out of bed. I wouldn't eat. I lost interest in everything. I just totally wasn't in control. But I knew right when I would start to throw things and start to call people names and stuff that I'd be ending up there soon. That's what I did.
Were there times when you wanted to kill yourself?
Yeah, there was times when I thought of it. I don't know if I think I'd be too afraid to. I would do things that I knew that could hurt you. Like maybe take an extra pill, or maybe take a pill and then take a sip of beer. Or I'd do things that I knew wasn't going to actually probably make me die, but I guess I could do that because I knew I was doing it. I don't know. I think I'd be too afraid. I'm too afraid to die of a natural cause. I'm too afraid to do it to myself. So I guess I just thought, well, maybe it would just hurt me a little bit, and then I'd feel much better.
Were there times when you wished that you might overdose with your medication and put yourself to sleep and never wake up?
Yeah, there were times when I'd take a little extra insulin, but then I'd end up having a low blood sugar attack, and that wakes you up anyway. But there was times when you didn't even care. I didn't even care if I felt it or I woke up.
Were there times when you didn't take your insulin and you knew that that was dangerous?
Yeah, there was times I didn't take it for quite a few days.
In a way, might that have been kind of like a wish to die by not taking your insulin?
I guess, but then I always thought, at the back of my mind, I knew, well, I got up to 900 and didn't die, so I'm sure I'm not going to die at 400 or 500. But then, I guess you can die at 400 or 500. I was lucky.
Mm-hmm. Were there times when I and or Dr. Winters would hospitalize you that you would also be hearing voices?
Yeah, that's why they tried to give me the Haldol. When I get like real, I guess, stressed out or anxious, or like I still even hear them when I get like that. I hear people calling my name, or I'll hear people like out my window or messing with like the washing machine, and I hear people talking and I can't really understand a lot of the times what they're saying. And I always get paranoid where I'm thinking there's people in my house or people at the window or down the hall. And it's like part of me knows that there's nobody there, but then part of me has to check to make sure that nobody's there. One time I was driving and saw an Indian appear out of nowhere in the middle of the street, sitting down. I was driving with my mother-in-law, and I hurried up and slammed on the brakes and said, "Oh my gosh, I almost hit him." And she was wondering who I was talking about, and saying there's an Indian in the middle of the floor. And I guess she knew there wasn't an Indian there, but for that couple of seconds, I actually thought I saw an Indian there.
When was the last time you've seen things or heard things that other people didn't see or hear?
Probably a couple months ago. I thought there was somebody in my hall. For some reason, I woke up in the middle of the night. I looked down the hall by my kids' room, and I thought I saw somebody standing in the middle of the hall. And then I'm thinking, nobody's in the middle of the hall. But I had to get up and check. And then all of a sudden, I thought I heard somebody in the living room. So I'm looking in the living room, and then I have to go check all the windows and all the doors. And you get back in, and you think you hear it again. So it goes on for like, I'll just do that all night long. It's like until the sun comes up, and then I know that I'd be able to see better. Because when it's dark, you think you see things, and there really is nothing there. But I really think there's things there, but you know what I mean? Part of you thinks there's things there because you really see these things. Part of it's got no, Keri, you're just, you're losing it. There's really nothing there. Just go back to bed. But you can't go back to bed because you're really scared that this really, what if there is somebody out there? I'll wake up my husband and say, go check, I just heard something. Or I thought I just saw somebody, and he's like, go back to bed. But he gets out of bed and he'll go. Or he'll never sleep because I'll just keep waking him up.
These 6 hospitalizations, sometimes they would last about a week. Sometimes they would last, what was the longest?
I think about a little over 3 weeks. I think the shortest probably was like maybe a week. I guess at the end, I was getting kind of tired of going in there all the time. So I just waited till they found the right medication and I guess figured out what was, what they were going to do with me or what my problem was or how to get rid of it. I think that was the longest one. I think I was probably like 3.5 weeks. And since then I haven't had to get back in. I didn't mind being in there, but it wasn't like a place that I wanted to go. I guess at the time, once I got in there, I felt better about being in there than whenever I knew I was going in.
When was the last time you were hospitalized? I'm trying to remember that as we're talking, and it seems to me that it's been actually quite a while.
Probably about 4.5 years, maybe 5 years, 4.5 years.
So the 6 hospitalizations actually occurred within about a year and a half.
Yeah, and they were, it seems like for almost, like I said, probably, it seems like at least 10 months out of the thing I'd be in there at least once. Not consistently, but I bet you I was in there. It just seemed like I was always in there next to that, like one whole year. I'd go in for a couple weeks, and then they had where you could go in and spend a day for so many weeks. I guess it's part of the outpatient thing. It seemed like I was always there. Like during, every Wednesday I'd be there, and then sometimes I'd be there on like a extended stay. So it seems like I saw those people so much that it was like one whole year. That was all right. Except you felt funny going back in after you were pretty much, you thought you were normal again. And then you have to go back in there, and then there's all these people that are having all these terrible things happening to them. And you're feeling all right about yourself, but you have to go there as part of your outpatient thing.
I'm a little bit confused. Are you talking about an aftercare program? Or are you talking about when you would be discharged from the hospital and then readmitted to the hospital?
No, when you were discharged from the hospital, on part of your discharge, you had to go back every week, like one day a week.
Oh, to the aftercare group.
You had to go there and spend the whole day with them.
Right, but the aftercare was basically going back onto the unit.
Yeah,
right?
you go back on there one day a week,
Exactly.
and you did it for like 6 weeks or 5 weeks or something like that. So that way it was like you weren't just totally shut off. You still got to go back one day a week, but you didn't have to sleep there. Like you'd get there first thing in the morning when they were doing their group, and then you'd stay until dinner was served. You even ate lunch there.
I had forgotten that had been part of our program.
Yeah.
Was that helpful for you? I know you were saying that it felt awkward.
It made me feel uncomfortable because there's all these people that are, staying there, that have been there for a couple weeks, that have all these serious problems they're doing. And you got discharged discharged because you're pretty much in control of yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're getting on with your life, and then you have to go back there on a Wednesday, and it's like, then you just kind of relive everything that happened to you while you were in there, and then it kind of brings you down again. So then I didn't like that. I felt awkward, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that liked it, but it just made me feel uncomfortable.
How do you feel about yourself that you haven't been in a hospital in about 4 years or so?
I know there's times I probably could have been in there, like if it was like a 24-hour bed and breakfast, I could have been in there. But I think there's days that you think, how are you going to get through this? But then there's times when you do real good. I mean, I think I've done great not having to stay there, because I pull myself out of it. So I guess if I was like that for a couple of days, then I'd have to go in and stay. But I'm glad that I'm not in there. I mean, I have a life.
Tell me about your life. You married?
I got married when I was 19. And
you married the man that brought you out to Palm Springs.
Married the man who brought me to Palm Springs on vacation. He got the ring. I married him. I have 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old boy and a 1.5-year-old boy. And then I live in Hemet, and we're looking to buy a house. And my husband, he works for a shipping company in Fontana. And my parents still live a mile away from me. I don't think they're ever going to leave me. They just always seem to be there. But it's, I live in an apartment. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. My husband takes a car to work, so I don't always have a car, which is kind of bad. He makes all right money. We don't, we're not rich, but we're not like that we can't survive. We can pay our bills and eat and everything like that. There's not like lots of money left over to go, on all these vacations or anything like that, but it's getting better than it was.
There was a long period of unemployment and
Self-employment.
self-employment,
I hated
which was
that.
very hard, if I remember.
I hated. I don't think anybody should be self-employed. I thought that was the worst. It was just you had to call all these people that you were doing work for and practically beg them to pay you, because none of them ever want to pay you. You'd send them invoices. You'd go months without getting a check from them, and then
we're talking about your husband's business in terms of him being self-employed.
Yeah, and I always had to call these people all the time and tell them that they owed us this money, but your creditors don't, they don't understand. They just want you to pay them, and you're trying to get these people to pay you, and it was really bad.
For a number of years, you really suffered with a lot of financial stress, didn't you?
Probably 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole entire time he was self-employed, it was terrible.
And then there was a period of unemployment.
Then there was unemployment between jobs. He worked for the state in the season, and then he worked for the post office in the winter season. And between the state summer season and the post office in the winter season, there was a couple months, and then the post office didn't want to have him work as many hours as they had to before. So we just kind of went off and started looking for something different, and he ended up in shipping and receiving.
You worked in the early part of your marriage.
I was a pharmacy technician. I worked for a real good pharmacy in Hemet, and I had a really good job. And I liked it to the point that I liked having all the money and stuff like that, and I had a job. But then every time I went there, I guess I got myself so worked up, and then I ended up having, what happened was, I went to work and I got sick and ended up having my kidneys start bleeding. And they just said that it wasn't worth it, because every time I went to work, if I had to work a lot or stay on my feet a lot, my blood sugar started to get messed up, my kidneys started to go, my legs started to give out. So they just said, you're better off not working. So that's what I did. I just quit working.
So now you've been working very hard as a mother.
That's harder than working as a pharmacy technician. They're hard.
And unfortunately, there have been some serious things that have happened to your children.
My one son, the 2.5-year-old, he was born with all kinds of head trauma. I don't even know how he survived. The doctor should have done him by a C-section, and he didn't. He was being stubborn and said, "Oh no, happens regularly." And he ripped me completely open, but he had bleeding in his skull, and now he doesn't talk very well. And they said it could all be because he might have had brain damage. He's just slow at talking, and He's had chronic ear infections, and they did tubes, and he still doesn't really talk much. And then I just found out he has high frequency hearing damage from all the ear infections or from the brain damage. They'll never know. So he's 2.5. And then I have a 1.5-year-old who was born not breathing, but he ended up doing real well, and he has big ear infections all the time. So they put tubes and stuff in his ears, took out his adenoids, and he's the difficult one. He's the one that never wants to. He's just difficult. The 2.5-year-old is real easygoing, mellow, real sensitive. The 1.5-year-old is the one who always wants whatever he's playing with, whatever the 2-year-old's playing with. And he's violent. He's having these terrible temper tantrums. And he hits you and throws plates of food at you. And he's just really difficult.
And you've also had to seek out some special help for him also.
I'm trying to give him like a counseling evaluation, because he needs help. I mean, there has to be something. He has no tolerance for anything, or no patience. He wants to bend, or, he just screams and he starts shaking, and like I said, he hits you or pinches you, whatever he can do. And today, he almost strangled himself in the car seat. Before I could get the car seat situated, he had himself turned around like twice in the car seat, so the whole seatbelt was wrapped around his neck. And then, he was still screaming. He didn't care about that. He was just what he wanted, and he needs help.
He's also having some problems with walking.
He doesn't walk, he doesn't stand, and he's almost 17 months old. And they don't know why he's not walking or standing. He just is doing it.
When you say they, you mean the pediatrician?
The pediatricians, the different doctors that I've taken him to. I've tried to put him in a special school that deals with handicapped kids that my 2-year-old goes to. He doesn't talk, he's speech delayed. Hoping that they could get him to, walk a little bit or try. Like, he can walk holding on to you, and walk around furniture, but he can't just stand there on his own. He'll just fall. Almost like he can't. Whenever he's not holding on to somebody, he just can't. His legs don't hold him. He just collapses. And that bothers me, because all these other parents and stuff have their kids that are running, walking and running, and then they're like, "Oh, doesn't your little boy walk?" I'm like, "No, he crawls faster than he can walk," And I kind of make up for him. Or like I kind of say, "Oh, well, he can, but he just doesn't get there in time," He really, I don't know why, he just doesn't seem to, he just doesn't want to do it. They said he could be lazy, he could be, something, but I can't tell you what. So, I guess he'll have to walk eventually. I keep telling myself he'll be 10 years old and be able to walk, It's just a matter of time, he'll be doing it. They said that he's developmentally slow. That's what they said. And they don't know if that's something that he'll outgrow or if he'll always be that way. This is the 1-year-old.
Yes.
The other one, he's real smart like that. He picks up things real quick. They're just night and day. I think if I would have had the 1-year-old first, I don't think I would have had any more kids, because I probably would have thought all kids were like this. He's a handful.
There were some special things and some special difficulties during the pregnancies because of your diabetes.
I went to the doctors all the time. I went into labor with the 1-year-old like 4 months early, and I had to stay in bed most of the time. And except for the doctor appointments, they had to put me through all those amniocentesis tests. I had 2 of those, lots of sonograms. I swelled up in my legs and my ankles and my hands. And that one was the problem with that. I just couldn't get out of labor. The medication wouldn't stop the contractions. I spent probably like 3.5 months in bed trying to take care of a 16-month-old at the time. That didn't go too well. And then with the first one, I guess I had a lot of blood sugar problems. they'd get high and I couldn't get them to get low. So I went to the hospital a couple times to try to get them to lower them.
I mean, you were in the hospital actually during your first pregnancy.
Trying to get my blood sugars lower. And I remember I got so mad the one time because they had this doctor from another hospital, and he told me that I wasn't really a diabetic, that I was just imagining that I was a diabetic. And I'm like, how can you imagine you're a diabetic? You know, here's this doctor that's known me for 15 minutes, and he's telling me that I'm not a real diabetic, that it just looks like I'm a diabetic, that your pancreas works in all these different ways. I'll never forget that. And he made me so mad. I didn't even want to stay in the hospital. I just couldn't wait to get away from him. I remember my doctor even wrote him a note because he was really upset about that.
And your endocrinologist wrote him a note?
Uh-huh. Because he thought that there was no way that this guy, you know, this is a young guy who's just getting out of school. I think he was just out of school probably a year. And he's trying to tell, you know, somebody that, I mean, I've just taken insulin and stuff like that. So my doctor, who was a doctor for like probably 20 or 30 years, he just wasn't going to have a little, you know, a new doctor tell him that his patient, that he made the wrong diagnosis. So that didn't go over real well. The doctor not being able to practice there and had to go back to his original hospital.
Tell me, how have things gone in your marriage?
Rocky. It's like a love-hate marriage. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't think I like them. Sometimes I'm happy being married, sometimes I think I should never have been married. And so, I mean, I've been so mean to this guy. I've called him every name you can think of. I've said the most terrible things to him. I've thrown things at him. I've packed his bags and threw them at him before. I mean, I literally told him I didn't want to be married, I didn't like him, I didn't love him. And he's still there. I guess it's like a love-hate marriage.
And does he say these kinds of things to you?
No, he ignores me. I guess after a while I can only take so much. But he just lets it go. He just pretends like I never said these things.
Does it frustrate you?
Well, I guess in a way, I'm thinking, gosh, you must be stupid. I'm sitting here saying these terrible things to you. And if somebody said these things to me, I'd be on the next bus out. And there he is just, you know, I don't know if he just knows that I'm like this sometimes and I don't really mean them, or if he just is used to me, just doesn't leave. Sometimes I think, why hasn't he left yet?
Do you want him to leave?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I guess when I'm mad, I do. But then sometimes I'm like, I guess I'm used to him too. I'm sure I love him. I'm not always in love with him, but I love him. But sometimes I could just choke him. And I think,
Have you ever threatened to kill him?
Yeah.
Were you serious when you threatened?
I think sometimes I think I was. Then I'd probably be afraid I think at the minute when I tell him this, I really think I could do it. But then other times I think, no, I probably would really, I know I'd regret it after I did it and feel sorry. I feel sorry after I did it, but when I tell him, I know I could probably do it right then. Because I'm so mad, I'm like a different person.
Have threatening to kill your husband or thinking that you could kill him, have that come into play at any of your hospitalizations? I mean, was that part of why you might have gone into the hospital one of those 6 times or any of those 6 times?
Well, he had to come up there one time for some type of a meeting because I guess they thought that he was part of my problem because I kept telling him how terrible I was to this guy. So they brought him up there, and I was pretty much honest with him. But it's just like, I wouldn't want to hurt him, but sometimes it's like I have no control over myself. It's like I'm sitting here, but like I could be standing here watching me do all these things. It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm. I think I understand.
It's like I'm watching myself do these things and say these things to him. And it's like I can't stop him. I mean, I just keep on going. I mean, I'm just really mean and terrible and just like, but I have no control. Then after I do it, after I say all these things, I feel so much better that I said all these things. It's like I thrive on it. And then after I do it, I feel better, but I also feel terrible that I hurt somebody and I said all these terrible things to them. Then I go through this guilt phase where, you know, I'm so apologetic that I'm doing these things. But then a couple weeks later, I'll just thrive on it all again. It's like this, just like this big burst of energy. I mean, I have so much energy, and I feel so good while I'm doing this. I mean, it's like a high for me.
And do you ever hit him?
Oh yeah, I've hit him. I've hit him before.
And has he hit you?
No, he kind of just, he'll grab my arm, but it's just, he just puts up with it.
In what ways have you hit him?
I punched him. I've punched him, I've thrown things at him. I even pulled a knife out, a big butcher knife. I even had that in my hand one time. I said, I'll get you. And I really, at that moment, wanted to do it. But it's like, I guess my conscience is saying, no, you really can't do this to him. You'll go to jail. You have 2 little kids. What would they think if they saw you do that?
Have you ever thought about hurting your children?
Not so much hurting them. Like, it's just when my 1-year-old starts to have these fits. I mean, I'm sitting there. I know I have a lot of patience with them. But sometimes you just feel like going, you know, stop it. Shaking them a little bit. Because he just, I mean, he screams. And he makes you so embarrassed when he starts throwing one of these fits. And he only does it, like, to me or Pete. He doesn't, like, do it, like, to the babysitter. Or, at least they don't tell me he does it. But he's just getting more and more aggressive.
Have you been tempted to shake him really hard?
Well, it's not like I would shake him. I would just like when he did it the last time, I took him outside and I smacked his leg. And like I could have smacked him a lot harder than I did. Part of me wanted to smack him just to tell him to shut up. I was tired of hearing it. You're giving me a headache and you're embarrassing me, and just to knock it off. And it seems like he's not going to knock it off. But then there's part of me that just, like, only let me hit him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I just smacked him like that. But, I mean, at that moment, he had me so angry. And, you know, you could have done something a little worse to him. I know how people could abuse their kids. I mean, gosh, it just gets you so mad. And I've never felt like that with my other one. It's just because when he does these temper things, it really can make him miserable. That's the only time is when he gets like that.
Are there friends in your life that are helpful to you, or do you find yourself pretty isolated at home, being busy with the children?
I'm isolated at home with the kids. I don't have a car, so I can't really go nowhere unless I walk. Like I'll walk to the store or something, but it's not like I have friends that come over and we go do things all the time. Or like I have friends that like I'll talk to here and there, or once in a great while I'll go do something with them, but it's not very often. I had friends before, like, but now it seems like since I've been out here, I really don't do much. I don't really feel like doing anything with them.
When you mean out here?
Well, like when I was in Pittsburgh, I had friends. But when I moved to Palm Desert, I didn't know anybody, so I really didn't do anything there. Then I moved to Hemet, and I knew a couple people, and it's like I'll see them here and there or talk to them, but it's not like I have a relationship where I go out and see them every week, or I talk to them every other day, or nothing like that.
And your family, your parents, your sisters, your brother, are they involved in your life?
Well, me and my brother really don't talk unless we see each other at some type of a family gathering. And then my one sister, she's married, but she just moved to Oceanside. And I see her. I mean, I talk to her a lot more than I see the rest of them. I have another sister, too. I talk to her, not like an everyday thing.
Seems like there's something sad about when we talk about your family. I wonder if we could put our finger a little bit on that. There have been some real disappointments, I think, for you with your parents, haven't there?
Another love-hate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
about between you and your father.
he's just different, like, when he's all these Kleenex. he was a Vietnam veteran. And when we were little, I guess I was probably like 4 or 5. I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday. We'd be at a birthday party, and somebody popped a balloon, and he jumped down on the floor and started screaming because he was like, he thought he was in Vietnam, something. And then like he'd have these dreams like in the middle of the night and start saying, "Don't shoot him, don't shoot him, don't shoot him." And he just like had a really hard time with that, and he got really sick. He had Agent Orange and Crohn's disease, and he had a lot of problems. So he didn't work. He didn't like he'd work off and on, but he actually didn't like work an everyday job until I probably was like 15. My mom would work. You know, she did different things because my dad would start a job, then he got sick and he couldn't work, and it just seemed like he was the one who would do like the ironing and the cooking and the cleaning and the washing. And
how would his unpredictable behavior and flashbacks and his illnesses, how would all that affect you?
We would be just like, we would do something, you know, if we ran up the steps the wrong way, he'd start screaming at us and telling us to walk up and down the steps like for an hour until we learned how to walk up and down them the right way.
So you'd be punished in strange ways?
He had like no tolerance for us at all. He would just start like, he'd just scream at us like, he was his nerves were like really bad. Anytime we did anything wrong, he would just scream at us, scream at us. Now my sisters have it pretty easy because now he's so calm. Seems like the last, I guess when I turned about 16 or 17, he started to calm down really well. Like he's really calm. Like he doesn't even yell at them. So I'm just like, this isn't the same person. Like my nephew broke a vase at my mom's house. It was like a really expensive vase. And if like he didn't even do anything. He didn't even jump up out of the tree. He just sat there and said, "Oh, are you okay, Josh?" If one of us would have broke the vase, he would have been screaming at us. I mean, just screaming at us.
Were there times when he did or said inappropriate things to you? Sexually inappropriate things?
He would tell me. One time he told me that he had affairs on my mom, and he had a girlfriend. Well, what happened was, I guess my dad smoked marijuana. I never even knew this. I guess he did. And one time he told me that when he smokes, when he gets high, I guess it makes him horny. And he's telling me this, and I'm like, this isn't right. I'm your daughter. You don't talk like this to me, you know.
How old were you at the time?
I was 16. And my mom and my sisters and everybody, in the summers, we had a camp. We had a trailer, and they ran, like, the activities and everything. It was a real big campground. And it was really a nice campground, but they lived there from May until September every year, every summer. But I was working, so I couldn't stay up there. So I was home a lot, and I would go up, like, find a day off or something. My dad was home in the summers because he worked. Like, he would just go up there for 3 days, come home for 2 days, go back up there. So he was home, like, periodically. Like, I never knew when he was going to be home. So I'd be home all by myself. And he just started to do this stuff, like, in the summer. Like, he would tell me these things. And then one time he said, how did it come up? It came up that something about that he was horny or something. And he had just gotten out of the shower, and he had his underwear on, but he was in his room, and I was up in my room, which was on another floor. And I remember he came up these steps, and he asked, like, to the point, like, if I wanted to do something about that. And I said, Dad, that's like incest, that's gross. He said, oh, well, I didn't mean like that. We could have had oral sex or something. And I guess I made, like, a funny remark or something, and then I guess he went back downstairs. And it's like he never even knew he did that. Like, he never said anything else about it, or it was just weird. And
how did that affect you?
Made me feel really awkward. Like, I don't know, like, I'm thinking, you know, this is your dad. This is who you're supposed to respect, and, you know, you just never thought that, I couldn't picture it coming out of his mouth. He just was never like that. and he just telling us how I'm more like he was. Like he loves all of his kids, but he feels that I'm more like he was growing up, and I take after more of him. He always tells me that. I'm like, I don't want to take after you. Like, I love my dad, but it's like at that moment I really didn't like him at all. I'm just like, what are you doing? You just don't do this to your daughter. But he never even brought it up again. Like, he never said anything else about it, or he just like, I don't know if he even knows he did it. You know what I mean? Like, you would think that he would remember that he did it, or, but it's just like he never brought it up, never even said another thing like that, just pretend like that just never even happened. So I don't know. And I know it happened. I know it wasn't like a figment of my imagination, but it was just weird. It was just weird. I never told my mother.
Tell me about your relationship with your mother, between you and your mother.
Ugh. I love my mom. And I know she loves me, but she always says how difficult I was growing up. How I would always fight with her, and how I was mean to her. And she always tells me this. She still tells me this. Like it's going to do something about it. I mean, we get along. She nags a lot. She always thinks she's right. She always thinks her way is the right way to do it. No matter what your way is, she thinks her way is the right way. I mean, there's sometimes I don't feel like talking to her for a few days. There's other times she gets on my nerves really easy. She's like I said, she always thinks her way is the right way. It's like, you know, she can't, if she takes your side, I mean, she'll think that you're completely right, but if she's totally against you, she can make you feel really bad. And I don't think it's just me, because my other sisters fight with her. My one sister's moved out, then moved back. My brother said that she was like that with him. She just get on your nerves. She just argues over the littlest things. And like, she just gets irritated so easy and mad so easy. She just makes me nervous. Like, if I have to be around her for a while, I just get nervous. Unless she's in like if she's in a good mood, then I'm fine. But if I can tell if she's like in an irritated mood or something, I don't even want to be around her. We usually will start arguing. She's going through what is that? Menopause. That's it. And I guess my dad said, oh, it's just because she's going through menopause. She's just having a hard time. And I don't know, I think she was like that as long as I can remember. See, but like she said, oh, you were such a difficult child. See, right away, it was always me. It wasn't like she did anything. And she always says, nobody even saw that you were so difficult. Your dad thought you were just so sweet, and all your relatives thought you were sweet. Because you were only like that with me. So that's how it could just not always be me. But she still says it's me, so I guess it's me.
In a way, this interview is a little bit strange because on one hand I pretend not to know what you're about to say, and on the other hand, we've had many opportunities to talk through the years about all of these things, and many opportunities for you to hear my reaction, many opportunities for you to think about these experiences from lots of different angles.
Yeah, but it's just like they still bother me. Like,
absolutely.
Every time, like I'll be fine, and then just to bring them up.
When we've talked through the years, sometimes we've talked once a week. Sometimes we wouldn't see each other for maybe 2 months. Sometimes we would see each other 3 or 4 times a week when there was a crisis going on. Or if not actually see you 3 or 4 times a week in my office, we might talk several times and I might see you a couple of times. What do you think about the kind of therapy that Dr. Winters and I ended up putting together for you, the package deal we...
Dr. Winters, she was funny. I get mad at her a lot too. It was just like, I wasn't mad at her, but And she was a nice lady, but it's like, she was just so, like, easy going with me. I'd say, oh, I just threw a whole pan of macaroni at my husband and called him all these names and this and that. And she'd say, oh, don't worry, honey, it's okay. Like, I always said, oh, I could murder somebody. She would find an excuse for me, you know. She was just always just like, she never said, Keri, you shouldn't have done that, or Keri, you shouldn't have done this, or that was terrible that you did that. She never, like, judged me at all. So I guess sometimes I thought she was too easy on me. Because I knew what I was doing was wrong. But she was making it like it was okay for me to do this stuff. But then, like you tell me like it is. You're just, I know I couldn't get away with as much with you that I could have with her. I mean, I thought, like, when I didn't have to see you for a couple months, it wasn't like that I didn't need to see you. It was just like my life was going crazy and everything was coming up, and it was like I had no time for myself. And then when, like, I saw you a couple of times a week or once a week, it was like I had to make that time for myself, because I just was, it's probably because I hadn't seen you for a couple of months, and then by that point I was like really off my rocker and had to see you a couple times in a row right away. That's usually how it ends up. I needed to, I think, commit myself more to actually showing up to appointments.
So the commitment to taking time for yourself.
Yeah, I'm not real good with that.
And when you are good with that, that seems to benefit you.
Yeah, and then if I go for like a couple months, usually by the end of those couple months, I'm a basket case again. My life's all a mess, and I need, you know, to change my medication. By that point, I'm usually hearing things or seeing things.
Through the years, I've asked you to participate in other kinds of groups, other opportunities. Can you remember some of the things I've asked you to consider?
Anxiety groups.
Okay.
A couple of times. I tried them. I tried it for a couple. I tried it, I think, once or twice. But see, I wasn't good at committing. I went, I think, to a couple of sessions, and then it was easy for me not to go. So I just wouldn't go. You told me that. You had me talk to some, I don't know if he was a social worker or a psychologist, about another type of a group. But I didn't really like that guy. I didn't like the fact that I went in there, and I had an appointment with him. And he's asking me all these things. I bet I was in there for like an hour. And then I'm getting ready to leave, and he has enough guts to say, oh, by the way, what's your name? I'm thinking, you have an appointment with me. I just spilled my guts to you. You don't even know my name. I didn't go to that group. Needless to say, that group and me didn't go. It might have worked, but by that point I thought, you just don't do that to somebody. I mean, I sat there and spilled my entire life to this guy, and he didn't even know who I was. It's like he didn't even listen to me. That made me mad. That hurt me a lot. So I just quit that group.
What other kinds of things through the years have we
Told me to
been
do?
talking about?
That I did do or didn't do?
Both.
Kept telling me to take a class. Get out, meet people, to take a class, or to go do volunteer work, or go do something where I could get in to see people. I never did that. I did though, take my the 2-year-old, to a mommy and me class.
Right, I remember that.
When he was 2 weeks old, I took him. I was so proud that I actually did that. But then it ended up being that he was too young for, they thought he wasn't too young, but I thought there was nothing he could do there. He kind of just laid there. So I didn't go back. He told me to get a car for myself, which I did have. We did have 2 vehicles until our truck got stolen. So now we're back to 1 vehicle. So I did that. It just took me about a year and a half to do that. Now I'm looking for a house because I need something to do. He told me to do that. He told me to get out, get a babysitter to help you take care of the kids, and go do something for yourself. And I'm still not doing that too well. I got a babysitter, but it's like, I don't go out and do the things I should probably be doing. I run around and pay bills, but I don't know.
How about walking, taking walks?
Yeah, taking walks. I did that for a while. Last spring. I'd take a walk every night around the complex with my kids. That was nice. But then it seems like I don't even feel like doing that now. I mean, part of me wants to do it, and part of me saying, you don't really want to do that. So the part of me that doesn't really want to do it wins. I'm just not good at doing things for me. I'll do things for anybody else. You know, I'll do anything. It's just, I guess I do too many things for everybody else because they take advantage of me. I'm easy for people to take advantage of. They still take advantage. Everybody takes advantage of me. I'm just easy to do that too. And I know nobody can take advantage of you without you letting them take advantage of you. So I let them take advantage.
Right now, you're on several different medications, if I'm recalling correctly.
I'm on Ipramine for the neuropathy, but it's also to try to deal with depression. I'm on Klonopin. I like Klonopin. I don't ever want to go off Klonopin. Well, I was on Benadryl before too, for sleep. But I liked Benadryl too much. I got to take too many of those. I took too many Klonopin before too.
If I recall correctly, there was a time when you were probably abusing the Klonopin.
Yeah, I was taking like 8 of them at a time.
And you were only supposed to be taking
2. I got to like the feeling, so I would just start taking them. And then it got to the point where, like, you're only supposed to take them every so many hours, and I'd wait like an hour and I'd be taking them again. I liked them. So I went in the hospital. That was another time I went in the hospital, and I remember they took me off the Klonopin right away. Like cold turkey. And I thought that was terrible. I thought, how are they going to do this to, you know, the Klonopin's making me calm, but I guess it was making me like a zombie. But I'm back on the Klonopin. It's just now I don't take 8 of them. Now I take 1. I don't even take it a couple times a day. I take it, you know, at nighttime, and then I'll take it if I need it another time during the day. But I don't take the Benadryl. I was taking the Benadryl with the Klonopin, plus I was taking something else with that. I think I was taking the Zipramine or something with that. I was taking so much. I've just gone through so many medications. Just so many of them. I think I've done them all.
Keri, how do you see your future? I don't mean way down the road, but the next few years.
Next few years?
Mm-hmm.
I see myself in a house. Eventually in a house. Not necessarily a couple months, but eventually in a house. Probably do the same thing I'm doing now. Maybe I'll have a second car by then, so maybe I'll get to go out a little bit more often. And we'll be making more money, so I'll be able to go and do things like, you know, shopping more often. I like to shop. Sometimes I shop too much, but I like to do that. I have things in my closet that I've never worn that I just bought because I thought I had to buy it. But I'll probably still be doing the same thing, except my kids will be a little older. It doesn't seem like it ever changes. It seems like I no sooner get to the point where I think I can do something different, and then I get kicked back again, where it's like, nope, you can't get that far.
What kicks you back again? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I don't know, everything. A problem will come up. It's like I could go probably 2 months and be, you know, in the best mood, have everything going my way, and then all of a sudden, you know, just like everything will start up again. Something will come up, or something will change, and then I have to I get right back to where I started.
Keri, is there a place for a spiritual belief in your life?
I was raised Roman Catholic, but my mom and dad never was one that, like, we went to church every week, or we went to, like, Sunday school. But we used to leave Sunday school. Like, we'd go up to Sunday school, and then we'd all hide in the bathroom, and then when Sunday school was over, we'd all leave. That's what my Sunday school went. So, I was never, like, my parents never made us go to church, or, you know, we went on holidays. She thought it looked good for us to go on holidays. When really, going on holidays doesn't do much, because you know, you just show up, once a year. So I like baptize my kids, and I've tried to go to church. Like, there's times that I'll go, like, a couple times, like, in a row, maybe, like, 6 or 7 times once a week, every week for, like, 6 or 7 weeks. And then I just quit that, too. I'm not good with sticking with things. I'm surprised I'm still here after 6 years. This is the longest time I think I've ever stuck with anything.
Do you have some beliefs about God's involvement and the pain that you suffered?
I just don't know why somebody would do this to somebody. Like, they say that you can only take so much, and then they don't give you any more. But I don't know. I've been dealt, like, a lot. I don't think I can handle as much as I'm dealt. They just keep dishing it out.
When you say they,
I just think they say, oh, God will only give you whatever you can handle. He doesn't give you anything more. But I think he jipped me. I just think that he gave me too much to handle. And there's people that have so many easy life. It's like, everything's just like given to them. They just have it, it's just so easy for them. And then there's me that has, like, I can't even have normal kids. I mean, it's like I can't do nothing without it going right. Nothing will go right. Everything goes wrong. There's nothing that can just go my way. Nothing.
are you able to be hopeful at times?
Not about, like, stuff like that, because I know that I'm destined to have something happen to me. Like if I get sick, I just can't get, like, a cold. I'll get pneumonia. Or I'll have to go, like, I was in the hospital because of my kidneys. I can't get, like, just a normal kidney infection. I have to get, like, a big old kidney infection that you have to stay in the hospital for 5 days.
You were just recently in the hospital, right?
For kidneys.
About 2 months ago? A month ago?
End of May.
About 2 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, it just, like, nothing just goes my way. I get, it's like if, you get a flat tire. My tire won't just go flat. My whole car will fall apart. It's just, and nothing's easy. It's just, it's all, I don't know. I just figure for the worst. I guess I'm a pessimistic, because being an optimistic wasn't working.
When you make a commitment to see me, is that part of being pessimistic or part of being optimistic?
I don't know. I make the appointment. I call, I make the appointment. I'm real good about calling and making the appointments. Usually I stick with your appointments unless there's absolutely, like, my kid's sick or
That's correct.
Pete can't get me the car.
That's correct.
So I just keep with the appointments because I figure I guess I have to do that. Not that I have to do it, but it's like I feel so much better after I do it. But it's hard to keep with the appointments. There's times that I get out of bed and I'm like when I first started coming to you, I didn't get out of bed till 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't have to get out of bed. And I remember the one time I made an appointment for like 8 o'clock in the morning. And you said, 8 o'clock in the morning? How are you going to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning?
I was being realistic.
Yeah,
huh?
and I said, I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, you'll wait, you'll see. And I remember I was there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now my appointments are always in the morning.
Yes, I'm impressed with.
I'm up now. At least I get up earlier.
That's right. I'm impressed with the change.
I get going.
That's right.
It's just like sometimes like I'll get up and I'll say, oh, I don't really want to go to see Diana. And I'll just sit there and I'll say, no, you don't have to go see her. And then part of me say, you got to go see her. So the part of me that says you got to go see her is the part I end up doing. But I've always pretty much gone to your appointments.
Yes. Keri, I'm going to bring our talk to a close.
Okay.
I think you've worked very hard in sharing your story, and I want you to know that I appreciate that.
Thank you.